Hi, I'm Iliana Limon Romero here with Alicia DelGallo.
Hello.
Ready to talk all things soccer. Thanks for joining us for our Twitter Q&A with a dose of Facebook Live thrown in to the mix. We're excited to answer your reader questions this week. Another big week for Orlando City, getting really into crunch time for the Lions. So wanted to take a step back from Alicia. She followed the team to Chicago, had an opportunity to watch that game, help us understand what happened.
Yeah, so basically they came out, they looked pretty good. They looked a little more cohesive than typically they had been under Christ. They're still adjusting, getting used to things. Kaká, Kyle Larin were connecting really well. They were playing great, as well as Matias Perez-Garcia, who new to the team and seemed to have instant chemistry with them. So they go up, they take a lead, and then in the second half, things kind of start to unravel a little bit. You see some of the same mistakes that they had been making, that they had been trying to fix. Matias gets taken out of the game with an injury. Then Kevin Molino comes on. Molino has been recovering from a hamstring injury. He wasn't kind of 100%. He looked a little winded. And then, of course, Christian Higuita goes down with an injury, which now we know is a 4-week injury, and he will be out. And so Chicago is able to equalize, and they lead with a point.
All right, that's a tough stretch for the Lions, who were hoping to get 3 out of that one, not 1. But I guess in those circumstances, under those conditions, you take the 1 and you move on. You're not completely knocked out of playoff contention, so there's some opportunities. All right, so it's Thursday.
Yes.
Much closer to game day, and you have some insight from training. Jason Kreis, what did he have to say today?
Yeah, so at training today, Jason Kreis gave us kind of an update on where everyone stands as far as the injuries. We now know, as I said, mentioned previously, that Higuita will be out for 4 weeks. It's going to be a long-term injury. MPG, though, some good news. He was listed as day-to-day with a quad injury, and he is likely to be available in Colorado, so that's good news for them. Rafa Ramos, right back, who's been out for quite a bit with a hamstring injury, he still isn't quite ready to play with the first team, but he's going to be playing with OCB on Sunday, so that's a step in the right direction. Get a game with them under his belt and then return, similar to what we saw with Tommy Redding 2 weeks ago. So those are good. Now Kaká and Julio Baptista were training inside today, but I've been told not to worry, that it was just precautionary, and the two of them doing different training than the others today. And as well, Kevin Molino and Seb Hines were sitting and watching on the side, and Kreis also said that was just kind of giving them a rest, that they were traveling as well. So, updates for the day.
All right. Well, they have done quite a bit of travel, and this is going to be a pretty grueling stretch. You had the game at Chicago, come back, play at Denver, or Colorado, basically, in the Denver area. Then you have to come back, and then you have another match that coming Wednesday.
Big match on Wednesday.
Big match. So this is just a lot of jostling. It's a lot of the bodies. You've reported an awful lot on what the toll is that travel has on the players' bodies beyond even just the game action. So I guess it's understandable, but it is a little startling. Anytime you see them on the sidelines, you're not sure what to make of it. So, all right, now we have some questions. As previously mentioned, we take your questions at OS Lions. When you tweet them to us, we take them for the show. You still have time to ask a couple more questions, stoppage time questions, if you will.
And you can send them anytime throughout the week. We will remember.
We will remember, and certainly today if you want to slide in. And then also we're on Facebook Live, so if you've got any Facebook Live questions, fire away, and we will do our best to answer everything you throw our way. So let's start with those who have already been submitted. From Eric Sintron at Alair Center. Again, not sure how to pronounce, so let me know on your handle so I can make sure I get it right. How much does Jason fix our middle field now that Higuita is down for 4 weeks? How big of an impact is this on Orlando City?
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned this on the radio this morning, that if this question were asked maybe a month ago, I think it would have been a big impact, because Higuita was a huge part of the defensive midfield. Him and Darwin Surin were the guys for the midfield, but he hasn't really been playing under Jason Kreis. Kreis has been favoring Antonio Notarino and Servando Carrasco in the midfield. Higuita really only started because Notarino was suspended. So I don't think it's going to have a huge impact, as big of an impact as it would a few weeks ago. Now, what it does is, thin the depth that they have in that position, but they just signed Tony Rocha, who came on and performed, well, and Kreis has a lot of faith in him, and so I think they're going to be okay.
All right. Yeah, I think it's kind of hard going from last year where these were Darwin Sarin and Christian Higuita were just the
guys,
huge tandem that made a massive impact for Orlando City. So it's just a little jarring this year. It's been quite the different season for both of those players, one who's no longer on the roster and the other who just hasn't had the same level of impact. It is unfortunate anytime a player has an injury, and you always want the full depth of the team available, but not looking like a huge hit as much as it might have been last year.
Exactly.
All right, next question from Twitter. Victor at VicRiv08. What changes do you think we will see in the defense this week? Aha starting, moving Shea?
Moving Shea, no. Shea is going to stay in the midfield for sure. I think I don't know if Aha starts, but I think we begin to see more of him because he came on, he made his MLS debut in Chicago, as many of you saw, and he's still not at the level that Christ wants him at, but he's getting better every day. He's solid, he's strong, he's tall, he's a big defender, and he's getting better every day. I think that was my story today.
Yes.
Did that run today? Yeah, at AHA, so you can check that out at OrlandoSentinel.com, but I'm still not convinced he's at starting level.
Tell us a little bit about what you learned from him from that story, because I thought it was really interesting, his journey here. He's definitely one of those under-the-radar players amid so many changes to this club.
Right.
He just kind of slipped in.
So I kind of talked about how he didn't get a lot of attention when he got signed because he'd been with the club, training with the club for like 4 weeks prior. So he was the first signing under Jason Kreis 2 days after the hiring. So you have this big coaching change, and then after that you have Darwin Sarin trade, you have MPG coming in with that trade, you have the 2 OCB players signed. So, Aha kind of flew under the radar a little bit, and he's been slowly progressing with not a lot of attention on him. But I talked to him yesterday a little bit more about his journey here and what's been going on, and he's very excited to be here. He feels like he's getting better every day. He explained to me the tattoos that he has on his left arm. One of them is a guardian angel and his grandmother's name scrawled on it, and he has family visiting. His dad got here 3 days ago and will be here for the next month. When his dad leaves, his mom comes. When his mom leaves after a month, his girlfriend comes for a month. So for the rest of the season, he has a lot of motivation to perform well in front of his loved ones.
All right, it's going to be interesting to see how he comes into the mix, and I think you're right about how long he'll play, whether he's really a full 90-minute sort of player at this point. It seems like the standards are especially high for defenders at this point.
Right.
Price has emphasized it, and really he sees the entire team as comprised of some level of defensive play. And
Kreis, I asked Kreis about Tommy Redding and what his thoughts are on Tommy today, because as you saw, Tommy returned for the first time from an injury in a long time in Chicago, and he was replaced, around minute 60-ish? Yeah. So I asked him what his thoughts were, and he said he thinks that Tommy Redding has huge potential, but he's very young, and they need to be careful with how they develop that potential. And he thinks that teams in this league and people in general, overall, fans, put too much pressure on young players like that and talk about them too much. So I don't know what that means for Tommy Redding moving forward, but I think it means that AHA will see more time.
I was still going to talk about him, just so we're clear.
He had to leave, but I wanted to be like, well, he's an Oviedo native, so we're going to talk about him.
He's local, and we're still going to talk about him. All right, next question. Ian F. IF in ORL. Is Laren on the roster in January? If yes, how about August 2017? So we finally gotten through the Laren is gone this season questions.
Yes.
But let's move to next season.
Next season, yeah. Is he on the? I think it would be a surprise if he's not on the roster in the beginning of the season. I think in August is when you'll start to see possibly more advanced talks about what to do with him. Beginning of the season, absolutely. I still think even in August he's on the roster. I think maybe the best time to part ways and get the most money for him would be at the end of next year. But August is when you'll start seeing some talk, I think.
I think there are two facets to that. One, he has the opportunity, if the team is looking like they've put themselves in a position to make a potential deep playoff run, and he feels like he's developing and growing with mentors. This club, is the money going to be worth it? Is this boatload of money they might potentially get for him off of that kind of situation versus losing his production?
Right.
Has to be something that is palatable to them. And right now, I don't think you want to lose a player of that quality right out of the gate. when you hold him a little bit longer, he continues to develop. He works with a new coach who has played his position at a very high level. He continues to work through Kaká's end of Kaká's contract.
Yeah.
I could see that happening exactly as you described, but time will tell. It remains to be seen. I can see why we're getting questions, and I expect to get more because there were some very emphatic tweets from some national writers and national soccer commentators who felt very firmly that Larin wasn't going to be back, and that's their opinion. They're welcome to that, but I just don't see that being the case. We'll see.
We'll see.
All right, next question.
Okay, so that was actually the second part of a two-part question. So now we're going to go back to the first part.
All right, so we had a two-parter. All right, assuming Larin is gone by 2018 and Kaká is retired, how different does this team look 2 years from now? So this is, again, from Ian F. at Ian IF in Orlando. Sorry about that. So we took this question a little bit out of order. We answered the second part. We don't think he's gone, but let's just say for assumption purposes, if he is gone, what does this team look like in 2 years? So
I mean, obviously it's going to be hugely different in 2 years regardless.
Right.
I see Kaká possibly retiring. He's
Maybe.
not. I've spoken to him, and he is not convinced yet that he will need to retire when his contract up. But assuming he is retired after that, and Kyle will most certainly be gone by then. I think so there's some other younger players on the team that will probably be gone by then, as well as some veterans. You see, Julio will probably likely be departed by then. So it's anyone's guess who this team brings in and their development over the next 2 years, but certainly going to be drastic, in my opinion.
Well, this team showed that it was willing to invest from the get-go. Flavio has the highest paid MLS player on his roster right now. He invested in designated player. If Kaká retires, I fully expect them to invest in quality players if they're not able to match Kaká's quality in that way. Multiple players, designated players of a high level who are expensive, or I expect them to bring someone in of his caliber if they can. And you'll always see Chicharito rumors near the end of his run because that's the way it goes. I think Chicharito has no interest in the United States, but it's going to be interesting to see. I think a lot of names are going to get floated for the potential Kaká replacement, but it's going to be fun to watch. That's what I think.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, next question we have on the list.
I can't keep up with the Twitter etiquette. This is the second part.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So we're running around and answering these different questions. Ian F. IF in Orlando. Can Kreese or anyone find and sustain success before and during the transition? So can Kreise be successful at this point? I mean,
I think Kreise has a proven track record of being successful in transitions. When you talk about transitions, probably one of the hardest transitions he's ever had to go through was going from being a player for RSL 1 year and being the coach the next year. And if that's not a transition, I mean, if that's not a transition that he came out of successful, highly successful, and turned that team into a winning team, basically immediately, then I think he can do it here with all the support that he's getting from the ownership and all the movement that I believe that he wants to make in the offseason.
right. So we're answering questions that are sent to us to @OSLions. It's we don't have the Pride this week. It's a little bit of a leaner week, but we'll keep going, answering some questions. If you've got any more, send them to @OSLions. We'll be answering them at the end of the show. And, of course, you can ask questions on Facebook Live.
Yep.
All right, let's see what's next up.
Ladies, who's your favorite tweeter?
Who's our favorite tweeter?
Mered's Bears?
I mean, we have many, but we do love Mered's Beards.
Beards!
Kyle Mirdo. How will we see the midfield on Saturday? Shea was awful. No higuita. Shea did have a rough game. I know, it's hard. So anyway.
Yeah. I have asked to sit down with Shea for kind of an in-depth interview sometime soon, so hopefully that comes to fruition and we can talk about all the ups and downs he's had this season. Like I said, I don't see much changing in the midfield. I'm not sure why people are very concerned, because it's been the Nocerino and Carrasco show under Kreise so far, and he spoke again today about how much faith he has in Servando and how Servando has been a huge asset for him. Both him and Nocerino, he loves that they've really bought into the system, his system, and shown that they're dedicated to his way of doing things and dedicated to learning and helping others learn his way of doing things. So he trusts both of them very much, and he also said that Servando's been really helpful off the field because he's bilingual, and he's been helping in communication and bringing the players together off the field as well. So I think he really likes Servando. He likes his work ethic and he likes his attitude, and the same with Nocerino. And I think that those are his go-to guys anyway. So they're going to be the ones there.
Yeah, I think the surge for Nocerino has been brief. So I think that's part of why people forget that he's there, that he's available. And Servando being able to speak Spanish. Spanish seems to be kind of the universal language. A lot of the Brazilians who speak Portuguese also speak Spanish, so it definitely has helped with those connections. It's really interesting to hear that insight.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Josh Spivey at Josh_Spivey. Other teams are still signing players, free agents. Anything similar going on with OCSC? So let's clarify how the transfer window works. I mean, how is this activity still happening?
Free agents, basically. They can sign a free agent at any time. So the trade window or the transfer window closed, but if there's someone out there that's a free agent, they can pick them up. So I haven't heard of any additional movement for Orlando City right now, and I'm not sure that I'm pretty confident in saying that there's not going to be any more movement through the end of the year, but I believe that as soon as the off-season comes, you're going to see huge amounts of changes.
I think that makes sense from where they're coming from, the way the transition happened with the staff. You try to work with a group and push toward the playoffs, but then you also have this greater depth of knowledge of the team that you've got, and then you pivot toward releasing some players, adding some players, working to see what you can do, using draft mechanisms and going from there. The usual process that we're just getting used to as this expansion team continues to grow. All right, next question. Warrior at Pride Warrior 24. Any news on possible trades for the Pride? When will Harris be back for them? So Ashlyn Harris, huge, one of many Olympians, 6 total, huge asset for the Pride. When are we expecting all these players back?
She's back.
Yay!
Ashlyn came back 2 days ago, so she's back in town. Steph Catley, who, as reported earlier, is injured and likely will be out for quite some time. But Steph Catley and Laura Alloway return today, I believe. They return today, and Alex Morgan will be back tomorrow. So they will all be back. Ashlyn is here. They're all expected, except for Steph Catley, of course, to be available and ready for the Pride's next game on the 26th.
It's very exciting for them just to have that depth. I mean, I don't think it's the way the Americans or the Australians wanted to close out the Olympics, but it's a huge break for the Orlando Pride just to have those players back. There were planned victory celebration, victory tours for either side if they had won, and so it could have been a pretty significant challenge losing them for part of that playoff push. So it's unfortunate, but now they can shift their energies toward the playoff push.
And I also spoke to Servando today kind of about Alex's mentality after the disappointing loss in the quarterfinals. He said she was really very upset about it, as expected. He was shocked that the U.S. left, and now she comes back the day that he leaves. So that's not ideal either, but he did say that she is looking forward to coming back, closing out the season with the Pride, and focusing on club play now.
Blue will be back, though.
Yes.
Blue Carrasco the dog will be back, so, you know, they got that going for them. All right, next question. Victor at VicRiv08. Pride is looking to make a big move. Is there any rumors on what Pride player is being traded? So Tom Sermani gave you some insight on how else he's trying to help with this playoff push. What can you tell us about the Pride and player acquisition?
So basically, in case you missed it, Tom Sermani said that he will most likely be bringing an international player in before even the next game, which is the 26th. He hopes that the player will be here for the last 4 or 5 games, and they only have 5 games left. So that means almost immediately there will be an international player. He has some in mind. He would not reveal to me who the player was or even what position they would play, but only said that it'll be someone who will make an immediate impact. In my mind, I think that means it's a playmaker and a goal scorer. Coming in. He mentioned before that that's what he was looking for. Now, there aren't any rumors on who he would be getting rid of, but if it's someone substantial and of that caliber, I would think that it would come with multiple, either multiple players involved in the trade or someone, you know, that's shown significant growth and potential.
Well, there are lots of popular names that have always been bandied about, but of course we're not going to pass along anything until we have it locked down, until we have information that we can confirm for you. But I know fans have been pining and have been hitting us up with Caitlin Ford. Caitlin Ford, is this going to happen? That would be great for them. But at this time, there is nothing that we have close to finalize that we're going to share with you. So that's
Tom
the
did
way
say
we
that
proceeded.
he tried to work out many trades for international players throughout the entire season, and they've all fallen through. So he thinks he's close on this one finally, and he doesn't want anything to disrupt it.
So that means no information, and that's actually something that you got to understand as a fan. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's okay. We will, as soon as they've got it locked in, we'll let you know.
Yep.
All right. So you can keep following at OS Lions. Alicia's going to give you all the updates from there. Do we have any stoppage time questions? Right now we have nothing big going on Facebook Live, but we do appreciate all the attention. Again, as Alicia mentioned, you can always tweet at OS Lions throughout the week, and we will answer your questions. And then, of course, we are shifting our show slightly because of Jason Kreis's training schedule. We want to be able to give you the latest information, the latest news, be able to answer all your questions as completely as possible. That means we're going to be shifting it to Thursdays at 3:30 for the remainder of the season. The team is starting to more regularly take Tuesdays off. This coming week, I don't think they will, because there's a game on Wednesday. But still, it's just much easier for us to make sure we're giving you the latest and most updated information. So we'll hope you'll stick with us. We'll, of course, be able to post these videos online after the fact, and you can rewatch then. But you can ask your questions anytime.
Yeah.
So anything new? Or
no stoppage time.
All right, no stoppage time. We're standing pat with a regular session. So let's look ahead. Big-ish match at Colorado. I mean, at this point, every point's a good point. So
Actually, Kreis said that he believes it's their biggest match to this point. So Colorado, number 2 in the league in points with 2 games in hand behind FC Dallas in the Western Conference. So he kind of talked about how they're just a really solid overall team. They're not, they don't excel particularly in any one area, but they do what it takes to win. And he thinks that it's their toughest challenge and test of the season, especially they have not been playing well on the road this year. So to go to Colorado and get anything out of this game will be a positive. To get 3 points against a team like that on the road could launch and the motivation that they need to make this final playoff push.
They're a confident team. I know there have been ups and there have been downs, but they have a lot of confidence in each other. There's a lot of talent there. When it clicks, it's great. When it doesn't, it's tough. But we'll see what happens. That's why we watch. So continue to follow Alicia DelGallo at OS Lions, at OS Alicia D on Twitter. 2 options there where you can get all the latest news. You're going to see Lions and Pride news there first, always. All right. Thank you for joining us with Alicia. I'm Iliana Limon Romero at OrlandoSentinel.com.
Thanks.